Ball is the man behind the documentary A Migrant Heart. Now this documentary hopes to shine light on the trying lives of migrant workers right here in South Africa. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, it's nice to be on the show.
It's very nice to have you here. Now why don't you introduce us to A Migrant Heart?
A Migrant Heart's a documentary that I came across and through growing up on a farm in the cradle of humankind, and I feel that migrant workers have always been on my path, and I've always been really deeply touched by their stories, and I feel that they do not have the respect that they deserve, and I feel it's time for a change. So I thought about it, and I wanted to make a documentary that doesn't necessarily just benefit the filmmakers of the film, but I want to make a documentary that will have an active change in the lives of the subjects.
Now, tell me about migrant workers, for those people who are watching who don't really know what that term means. What is that?
A migrant worker is someone who leaves, we could be an immigrant as well, but a migrant worker is someone who leaves their home, their country, for a short or long period of time to work elsewhere and come back, with the idea behind it funding home or the people you love back home. That's why I came up with the name Migrant Heart, because I feel that the people I've come across work for 3-year periods and only get to see their family for 3 months.
Wow.
So back home, that's where their heart is, and they're working somewhere else. You know, it's like a heart at work in a distant land.
Wow. Now, how many subjects did you interview for this film?
Well, thus far, I'm in the pre-production stage, so I'm busy raising funds for the documentary, and I have done some test shots, and I've gone out and just to gauge on how many stories, because every time I just step out of my door, there's so many stories to tell. There's so many people with such wonderful and such great stories to tell and share with the world. And I went out and I, just for one night as a test, and I interviewed 4 people just in a kilometer radius from my house. And all of which were migrant workers, and all of which have been in the country for at least a year and have not gone home. One of the subjects I tried to get to come today, he's from the Congo, and he hasn't gone back in 7 years. And then at the same time, when you're in another country and you are missing home, and the only reason why you're here is because you want to make a better life for yourself back home, and also you're very keen to work. So at the same time, you have that, and then you have people discriminating against you because of your race or of your nationality or of your culture or your language. And what I'm trying to bring across in the documentary is that our humanity should not be bound by the color of our skin or by the nationality on a passport. And I want to challenge ideas of xenophobia, racism and nationalism, and the way I would do that is I understand society as being merely the relationship between people, and if I can change a perspective, and I can change how people view migrant workers by seeing their lives, seeing the hardships that they're going through, it will change society, I'm sure of it.
Now when you're speaking to these migrant workers, how do they speak about home? What's their take on their life right now?
I mean, the Congo, Zimbabwe, Malawi, they do miss home, and they do love home, but home is not the place where they can make a living for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, there's political issues, there's war, not in Malawi, but you know, there's war, and there's no opportunity for them there, and you know, some of them are being persecuted, so they leave the country. And in the same way, I want to draw this back to where we had, before 1994, we had many of our great leaders who changed this country and brought this country to democracy. When they were in dire need, their neighbors opened their arms to them. And now their neighbors are in dire need, and we are not opening our arms as South Africa.